Woo! Woo! Woohoo! Man. Wow, yo, ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona are through to the semifinals of La Champions League. It's been 6 long years since we've been to the semifinals. One step away from reaching the finals, somewhere we haven't been since 2015. I feel old saying it, but it's the truth. And all I can say is that I'm happy about it. But overall, from the game that we witnessed today, man, embarrassing. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. This game today that Barcelona put up, disaster class. It was wow. Everything that we've seen from Barcelona under Flick this season is nowhere near the level of what we saw today. Nowhere near. Nowhere near. It was completely and utterly a disaster class from Barcelona. We just put up a terrible performance to the point where we almost gave Borussia Dortmund a lifeline to maybe come back. The fans celebrating, wow, we got this. It took an own goal for us to be a little bit more secure. Because if it wasn't for that, it would have been 4-3 aggregate. That's embarrassing. What we thought was we got the job done at the Montjuic. Completely fine. Oh, cool. We're going to go into this game completely calm, collected. We can relax, chill out a little bit. But come on. Going away to Signal Iduna Park with an incredible fan base like the Borussia Dortmund have. Motivating their team to try and make the comeback. And we just wanted to relax. That's what we saw from the beginning of the match. The players looked out of it. They didn't look concentrated. They weren't concentrated. And ultimately put up an embarrassing performance. An embarrassing performance where Borussia Dortmund, I wouldn't say outclassed us. I wouldn't say they were all over us. It was mostly a game where they had their chances. They took them and almost made the comeback. Again, 4 goals were scored from Borussia Dortmund's end. We didn't score any. We didn't score a goal. They scored an own goal. Like what we saw from Leganés, they scored an own goal. But the difference with Leganés is that we were in the front foot a lot of times. We looked way better. We were in control of the match. In this game, we were in control of the match maybe, what I can remember, 20 minutes. When Pedri came onto the pitch, that was the only time during that match where I thought, okay, we had some type of control. But besides that, we just kept on giving up the ball, losing possession stupidly, flimsy passes, lazy passes, not finishing any of our chances, and we allowed Borussia Dortmund to get into the game. We almost allowed them to make the comeback, which is embarrassing to say the least. Again, I'm not going to fault this team because, again, the amount of games that we're playing, obviously at some point the players are going to tire it out. We're eventually going to see a little bit of a downfall, but I at least wanted to see some fight, some effort. We did see some of that, but I don't think it was enough for today where, again, just a bad performance in general from Barcelona. But let's quickly talk about the lineups for Barcelona. Szczesny in goal, Jules Koundé, Ronald Araujo, Pau Cubarsí, and Gerard Martin. Midfield of Gavi, Frenkie de Jong, Fermín López, and up top, Lamine Yamal, Lewandowski, and Rafinha. Well, the lineup that I wanted to go up for this match was practically the same. The only difference was I wanted Ferran Torres to start instead of Lamine Yamal because I wanted Lamine to get some rest because I think he deserves it. I think he should have some because he's played a lot of minutes. Like as much as I wanted Pedri to get some rest because, again, after every single game, he looks so tired. He looks so gassed out because, bro, the amount of field that he covers every game is just, obviously he's going to tire out at some point. So I wanted to give him some rest for this game. And good, I was happy to see that happened. But then when we got into the game, I was like, bring him in, please. Because I can tell you for a fact that Hansi Flick, the only thing he was thinking after the halftime whistle blew was Pedri. Because Pedri missing in this game was why we were lacking control. We were lacking any type of control throughout the match going forward. Defensively, how many times we just lost the ball. Gavi, Fermin just weren't doing good enough to control the ball, to control the tempo. They were too rash. They were just trying to go up in the attack, but weren't effective enough. They weren't smart enough with the ball. Frenkie de Jong is the only player that I can give some credit to because he got into the right spaces to get us some momentum to go forward. But again, he can't do it all himself. He's not Pedri. I'm sorry. Like Pedri controlling the midfield, controlling the tempo is another level compared to Frenkie de Jong. And we saw that today. Because Frenkie de Jong needed some assistance, but I can't tell you that Gavi or Fermin offered that assistance well enough for us to be on the front foot a lot of times or to have any control of the game. I can tell you that for sure. The front three today, wow. It probably it for sure had to be Lamin's worst performance that I've seen of him in a Barcelona shirt. I think he was terrible today. Like again, it has nothing to do with what he's done in this whole season in general. This is just a one-off game, but today nothing was working for him. His passes, his first touches, his final third movements, like nothing was working for him today, and he just had a bad game overall. Same thing with Rafinha today. Whew, man, I think another bad performance from Rafinha. I don't know what happened to him after this Argentina tie. I think mentally it's had some effect into him because we're seeing a couple of games now where Rafinha has gone downhill. He's going downhill. He's not the same Rafinha we've seen in the beginning of the season, mid-season. He's dropping a level now, which is unacceptable when we're fighting for the titles. This is crunch time. This is when we need you guys to step up. And he didn't step up today. I think he had a bad performance. Defensively, he came back and dropped deep and, helped out. Kudos to that. But besides that, going forward, nowhere near efficient. Had some chances, didn't take them. And I don't know. I just didn't see anything good for him today. It could be a factor that he didn't have that assistance from Balde, who usually goes up and down the pitch, gets into the spaces, and allows him to drift to the middle, get into the right spaces to try to get a goal or an assist. That could be a factor. But when you have Gerard Martin playing behind you, he can't do nowhere near the same things that Balde can. That's when you need to step up. I said before the game, this is where Rafinha needs to step up. Because we know he's not technically a left winger. He's not going to stay wide and take on players like that. No, he always drifts inwards. He goes inwards, playing as a false striker, being around and behind Lewandowski, in between the left back and the center back. That's where he's dangerous in. The areas that he likes to get into the middle. And we know, as a winger, he's just not like Lamine, a take-on winger who creates chances for himself and does these things, right? He needs assistance from his team. So these are the games where we need him to step up, and he just didn't today. I think he had a bad game. And Lewa, again, I'm not gonna judge Lewa too much, just because I've said it countless times throughout the season. I'll repeat it again if I have to. Lewa's not gonna have a good game unless the whole team around him is having a good game. And since no one had a good game, you're not going to get anything from Lewa. We need to feed Lewa. We need to assist Lewa. And we didn't offer any of that today. And that's why I would say, again, non-existent from him. But the full front three, terrible. The midfield I already talked about. The defense, a little bit shaky. For sure in that first half we were very shaky. And, then we gave up the penalty. That's mostly on Chesney, right? Chesney, it's the third time he's done this now where he just gives up a penalty like that, which is unnecessary because... when the Gross, whatever his name is, who got the touch to the ball, it was going out. So if either way, nothing would have happened from that play. But unfortunately, we gave them the penalty and they got the goal from Gedasai, who took it with full on confidence, and they got to go back into the game. But they did get through us a couple times for sure. I think the main thing that we have to be thankful about for this was the fact that the other player that was basically playing as the right winger was Bear, the other striker that was playing. He was basically the right winger this game because the amount of times he got back in behind us and onto the right, going forward, making runs as a winger would on the right side. The amount of times he did that was honestly unacceptable, terrible defending from us. But thankfully, he's just a tall striker who isn't quick enough to do something in those situations, and he didn't do anything. Thankfully, we caught up to him pretty easily, but it was just bad. It was just bad from Barcelona defensively wise. Again, we were solid at some occasions, but there were some occasions where it was just bad defending, where we just gave them lifelines to get into this game. But when we look at the first half, we had 3 clear opportunities to go up and basically just end the game. End the tie, game over, boom. Rafinha had a chance where he got through. I forgot who made the ball to him. I think Lewa made the ball to him. He gets through. He takes the heaviest touches I've ever seen him take in his life. And then Sule just catches up to him and makes a great tackle and gets the ball back for Borussia Dortmund. But he was through. Lamine on the other side. All you had to do was dribble well and boom, goal. I don't know what he was doing there. Another chance was, I'm not going to really blame it on Koundé, but Koundé made a great run into the box. Frankie de Jong found them, perfect pass for Frankie de Jong. But again, I'm not gonna blame Koundé because he doesn't have that delicate touch like a Dani Olmo would or a Pedri would or Lamine would in that kind of area. I'm not gonna blame him for that. But he took a heavy touch and couldn't get a shot into it. But On another day, a different player, they could have gotten something from that. But I'm not gonna blame that more a lot on Koundé. But great pass from Frankie De Jong. And then the other chance was Lewa got the ball. He makes a turn. He turns around with the ball. He could have made the pass to Lamine first time, but he decides to wait, turn around and give the ball to Fermin, who's offside. I blame that on Lewa for sure for not giving the ball to Lamine right away, and for Fermin for not seeing the defense like push forward. Wait. Don't rush it. Don't rush your run. Wait a little bit. Be smart a little bit, and then he would have gotten the goal there. But again, in general, just going forward, like Barcelona were terrible. But those 3 occasions, we could have ended the tie right there. Boom. But we weren't efficient enough. We didn't get anything from the first half. Again, it wasn't like Borussia Dortmund were all over us. Like we're in the halftime stats, I saw that they had 10 shots, 7 on target. But all those shots on target were right at Szczesny. All he had to do was pick it up. That's it. Nothing dangerous. Nothing to be like, yo, Borussia Dortmund should be 3-0 up, 4-0 up in this first half. No, they were shots right at Szczesny. But at the same time, just giving up those shots, giving them those opportunities was ridiculous. The only clear chance besides the penalty was a little corner kick where Bernes Baini, the guy who scored the own goal, headed it at Szczesny. If he hit it better, if he was more accurate, he could have scored there. That was the only real clear chance from that first half that I can remember from Borussia Dortmund's end. But besides that, a lot of them were just straight at him. So Dortmund were as equally as bad as we were in that first half. Like they gave up the ball multiple times to us, but at the same, it was like literally a back and forth between both teams where we just made stupid passes, lazy passes. Weren't concentrating enough, and a back and forth was just like it was just ridiculous. But we expect more from Barcelona. But the main factor was because Pedri wasn't on the pitch. We all know that Pedri's the one that controls the game for us, controls the tempo, slows down the game when we need to slow it down. Because the amount of times we just rush plays, the amount of times we just like it was just so annoying how we were just rushing plays. Like we literally were 4-0 up. We could have just played calm. Obviously, Borussia Dortmund were pressing as well. They were man marking as well, not allowing us to play how we would usually like to play. But at the same time, when we did get into the right areas to attack them, we did get into the right areas to control the game, we would just rush. We were just rushing it. We just wanted to get another goal immediately and made stupid passes, stupid long balls, like stupid over the tops, and just gave possession back up to them. It was ridiculous. And then the second half, going to the second half, obviously the main thing that we were all thinking is Pedri should come in immediately. Hurry up, Pedri, come in. And, no changes into the halftime. Then they get their second goal, literally a couple minutes into the second half from a corner kick, where Bernes Baini wins the header over Gerard Martin. I don't know what kind of defending that was. Hits into the back post, and Guedesai just headers it in. Boom, 2-0. 4-2 on aggregate. Man, I was stressed. I was pissed. I was pissed because terrible defending, and I was pissed because what are we doing? What are we doing here? Come on, we can't bottle this. Come on, how are we gonna bottle this, bro? Why? What are we doing? What are we doing? But later Pedri comes in. During the spell that Pedri came in, we got a little bit more control. We were a little bit more on the front foot. We weren't allowing Dortmund to just hit us quickly on the counterattack because we just know how much of a game changer he is. Literally, the whole stadium was screaming Pedri, Pedri, Pedri. Just everyone knows how incredible he is. And then one opportunity where Koundé makes a beautiful pass to Fermin Lopez. He gets in behind the defenders, crosses it in with enough pace to the point where Bernes Baini just, hits it in for an own goal. Like, he tried to clear it, but the amount of pace that Fermin hit it with, like, he just wasn't, he just couldn't get a good enough contact to clear it out. It just rolled off of him and boom, goal, own goal. Thankfully we got that. Finally we got something. But in that second half, overall, we created little to nothing to be up even more, to bring back the comeback. Because in the back of our heads, we were also thinking, yo, we're undefeated 2025. Let's try to keep that streak going, right? But overall, the main objective was obviously the get it to the semifinals, right? But and then they get the third goal. They get the third goal from, again, terrible defending. Gerard Martin and Eric Garcia, I don't know what that was. You're double teaming him and you just let Durnville just easily get through you. He gets a dangerous cross into it, but didn't get to anyone. But Araujo, the ball, gives the ball, just gives a perfect assist for Guedesai. I don't know what kind of clearance that was. I don't know what that was. It was ridiculous. It was embarrassing. It's unacceptable because he literally just passed it over to Guedesai. Guedesai's like, oh, thank you. Boom, bangs it in. 3-1. Man, just terrible defending today. Araujo, Not his greatest game for sure. Gerard Martin again. We all know that we're not gonna get anywhere near the same things that we get from Bale with Gerard Martin. We just know. Like we know that Bale is basically our left winger. He's the one that drives the ball up and down the left flank. We know how dangerous he is, how involved he is in our attack as much as our defense. We know that, and especially controlling the line, controlling the high line, being smart enough to know when to push forward, when to drop back. We know Bale's way better at it because we've seen Gerard Martin today. He just like he didn't know like when to like push forward. Like he was still confused. He's still confused. That's another main reason why Balde's loss is major because he knows how to be a cohesion with the whole back line of hitting the high line, when to push forward and everything. You know what I'm saying. But Gerard Martin, a couple of times he was solid defensively, but again, just going forward, like he just has no confidence. Like there were a couple of times in that match where if it was Balde, he would have ran through the Borussia Dortmund defense because they left him space to run through him. But we just know he doesn't have that kind of confidence in him to do it. And overall, like Gerard Martin he has to improve. He needs to start improving. I said before the match, this is his biggest test up to now because he hasn't really started or played many. No, he hasn't started any important matches for us this season. So this is his biggest test. And he struggled for sure. He struggled because that third goal was just unacceptable. The way that he let Duranville just make that cross into the box. But again, but when Pedri came in for a good 15 minutes, we were controlling the game. We weren't like Borussia Dortmund slowed down, but and then we just do that stupid shit where we just give them the goal for the third goal, and then after that, the last 15 minutes of the match, just defending for our lives. Hopefully not giving up another goal. And, Eric Garcia comes in, Ferran Torres in for Lamine Yamal, and Pedri comes in for Gavi, Eric Garcia and Ferran Torres come in for Lamine Yamal and Fermin Lopez. Who else comes in? Dani Olmo comes into the match as well. I'm trying to think if anyone else came on. Dani Olmo comes in for Lewa, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But from there on, for the last 15 minutes of the match, after they got the third goal, we're just defending for our lives. Hopefully not concede another one. But guys, we let Girassi score a hat-trick on us. Girassi. However you say his name. In the last 3 games that we played against Borussia Dortmund this season, he has scored 5 on us. 5. After the disaster class that he put up in the Montjuic. And we let him score a hat-trick today. Kudos to him. He put in the effort today. I think he was 100% the best player for Borussia Dortmund. Like, he was very efficient. He took the chances that he needed to take, and, he was a threat for sure. Like, he dropped deep a couple times, collected the ball, drove the plays forward for Borussia Dortmund. He was good today, for sure. For sure deserved the man of the match for the whole game. But Kubarsi did give him some challenges in some points of the game. But, man, it was an annoying game. It was an annoying game, and it makes me question a little bit. Can this team handle the pressure for what we're about to experience for the semifinals? Because we all know that the second leg of the semifinals is going to be played away. The first leg is going to be at home, so we're going to have to play again away. Now, I think for the semifinals, we're obviously going to have to step up. I don't think we're going to put up the same performances because Pedri's obviously going to play. We're going to have, probably Dani Olmo come back to the team. The only thing is Gerard Martin will have to start because Balde is looking like he'll be out maybe until the second leg of the semifinals. We don't know. But it just like makes me question, like, bro, like, come on, like we can't go away and suffer these kind of things. Like, we've seen it a couple of times this season with Benfica. We've seen it, now Borussia Dortmund a second time, because the first game this game is literally giving me flashbacks to the first game in Borussia Dortmund where it was a 50-50 match where Borussia Dortmund had their chances, they took them. We had our chances and we took them. That was the difference. This game we didn't take them. That was the main difference. But man, it was a stressful match. I'm just thankful that we got to the second leg. But these are the kind of wins you need. These are the kind of experiences you need to become champions. Like, we thought we all had it all done and dusted in the first leg, and then we suffered in the second leg. But thankfully, we got the result that we got for the first leg to, have an advantage for the second leg. But yeah, Borussia Dortmund put in good effort today. Got to give them kudos. I think a lot of their players were good. Kuto was dangerous on the right side. Sule, I think, had a great match. I think if him and Schlotterbeck were in this game, we would have had a more difficult time, especially in the first leg if they both played. Adeyemi, like, a lot of people hype him up, but from these 2 legs, I didn't see anything impressive from him. Like, the only thing he really had was one little burst where he shoots it at Chesney, but besides that, not much to really say about him. And man, again, it's just a stressful game. A stressful game. But Barcelona, thankfully, are through to the semifinals of the Champions League, and we'll see who we face up against Inter Milan or Bayern Munich. But again, these are the games you have to suffer to become champions. Ask Madrid. Madrid, you can't tell me a single and these last two Champions Leagues that they won in the last couple of years, you can't tell me a single game where they actually dominated in both legs. It's gonna be difficult, especially going away. Going away is the more a difficult task. But again, thankfully we're through. But we'll see what happens with Inter Milan and Bayern Munich. If I were to say, again, I already expressed that I would rather play Bayern Munich than Inter Milan. But, we'll see what happens because Bayern Munich have to go away to San Siro, which is a difficult task. But, and Aston Villa today almost made the comeback as well. Like, PSG were considered the favorites and lost today as well. But they lost suffering as well. So, you never know. Like, this is Champions League nights. Anything can happen in Champions League nights. We've seen it countless times. So, hopefully we don't see that again, but with Barcelona fumbling it in the semifinals, I hope not. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought about the game in general, about the in the comments down below. Who was your favorite player? Who was I think probably the worst player? If I were to give them a man of the match for our team in general, I would give it to either Cubarsí or Frankie de Jong. I think they both had a good game. I'll probably edge it to Cubarsí just because Cubarsí was very solid today. Like towards the end, he put in some good tackles and he was very aggressive at one point, and you could see that he was on fire. He was on it. That he wanted to get something from this game, and yeah, kudos to him for sure. But Frankie de Jong, I think, was really good too. Inigo Martinez didn't play today just because he had a yellow card, and Hansi Flick said he didn't want to risk him. So okay, whatever. But our worst player, I would say, I hate saying it, but it's Lamine. I think Lamine had the worst game today out of the lot. But yeah, let me know in the comments your man of the match, what you thought about the game in general, your worst player, and what are your sensations for the semifinals. Who do you want to go up against, Inter Milan or Bayern Munich, which we will find out tomorrow. I will also be streaming the Arsenal versus Real Madrid game tomorrow to see if Real Madrid makes a comeback or Arsenal are solid enough to keep the lead. So yeah, make sure to like, subscribe, favorite, hit the notification bells for every time we upload. Share to your friends that love football, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.